Such insanity this chapter, from Luffy's insane power and new info about his god fruit to the Gorosei and their powers continuing to be felt and revealed, the ancient giant joining the action, even the reveal that these ancient giants are far larger than normal giants. Huge news, especially considering how overpowered giants have been lately. Just insane stuff, so make sure to stay tuned for this one. Channel the Pirate King Within and smash that like button if you enjoy One Piece videos like this one and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece videos and updates. And now without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. So this chapter is called Sun Shield, quite the crazy implications around that, as we'll see. The color spread I have to mention because we get to see the Straw Hat crew, Vegapunk, Bonnie, and Kuma eating french fries on top of a group of jellyfish. Vegapunk is inside a submarine robot, and Bonnie is using her real child appearance as she eats fries with Nami and Chopper. I love this not only because the late great Vegapunk is in it and he's been amazing this arc, but even more so because we have Kuma and Bonnie in her true form here. Their bond has really been one of the most powerful aspects of this arc, and after everything, love the idea of them having a good time together, even if it is only for a non-canon cover illustration. We needed to see that after all they've been through. So last chapter we left off with Dory and Broggy arriving to help Luffy. They sliced the giant worm's head, releasing Luffy in a beautiful parallel to the time Dory saved Luffy from a dinosaur in similar fashion so many chapters ago. Again, these parallels and even the recurring characters really emphasize how far we've come in the story. This chapter though starts with Mars breaking the labo phase barrier and entering inside. So we saw him attempting to do this in the last chapter, and with the insane regeneration powers of the Gorosei, I wouldn't be surprised if they could just slam into the barrier and regenerate on the other side. They must have some weakness, but it looks like physical attacks aren't it. And for a series that introduced Logias so long ago, where someone like Smoker can even turn into smoke and reform, this shouldn't be too surprising. I'm excited to say that we get more Zoro too. We are told that Zoro vs. Luchi has finished since Luchi is unable to move, but Oda hypes him up nonetheless in a way by having him refuse to fall down. In this way, he actually lets Luchi keep quite a bit of honor, even though he didn't lose to Luffy here, but even Luffy's crew member. Honestly, Oda probably gave him more honor than I actually thought he'd get. Jinbei though probably doesn't want to take any chances at this point and uses a new fisherman karate technique called Gosenmai Gawara Shuto, or 5,000 brick shot, to blow Luchi away. He then takes Zoro with him to meet up with the rest of the crew. I'm glad we finally wrapped up the Zoro vs. Luchi fight, and I'm very glad that it was made clear that Zoro won before Jinbei blew him away. Zoro deserved that W, and I would expect not to see Luchi reappear as a significant antagonist again, since at that point, he'd just be a punching bag for the crew. First Luffy overpowers him, then Zoro, then even Jinbei gets in on the action, so yeah, I think he served his purpose by this point. Back to Mars, and he arrives to the place where Luchi has ended up after Jinbei's attack. While Luchi is turning back to human form, clearly like Kizaru, he seems to be out of steam. Nonetheless, it's another testament to the endurance of Zones that he made it to this point. Luchi goes on to report everything to Mars, like a good house-trained cat, and says that Vegapunk's message will begin in 6 minutes. Mars compliments Luchi and flies towards the laboratory. Looking forward to seeing what kind of compliment it is, since it's hard to see why they'd be happy with him losing to a non-captain crew member. Luchi makes a request to the Elder, and it's a nice one to see. It redeems him to an extent as someone who does have some sense of friendship and loyalty, despite clearly fighting for the wrong side. He says he'd like to ask the Elder to spare Kaku's life. Again, that kind of request cannot make him look good in the eyes of the Gorosei, who view most people as insects. It could only hurt his reputation in their eyes, so it's nice that he still cares enough about Kaku to ask anyways. But predictably, Mars says, it may be difficult since I won't pay attention on what insects I will step on. That's all we get at this point, but it would have been funny if Luchi just added, oh, no worries, just watch out for giraffes, please. So yeah, all in all, good treatment of Luchi this chapter. Dude remains standing, which is always hype in One Piece. I don't need to tell you guys that. He was a good friend and even got complimented by the super arrogant Gorosei. We then cut to the main action we want to see. We cut to Luffy, who's very happy greeting Dory and Broggy after so long. Dory and Broggy, for their part, ask Luffy why he suddenly looks like the god that was known among giants, but of course, Luffy doesn't understand what they're talking about. However, this is very interesting info in and of itself. Like the Buccaneers, clearly Sun God Nika was important to the giants too, and for a long time people have been theorizing that the old Joy Boy slash old sun god Nika was a giant because of the giant straw hat at Marijoa, so this definitely seems to lend more credence to that theory. And that's not even the last time Luffy's importance as the new Joy Boy will be brought up in this chapter. Just wait until the end to see how crazy it gets. Sanji already told Dory and Broggy to take Luffy to the back of the island, so as mentioned last chapter, the escape seems to be taking place sooner than later. After all 5 Gorosei appeared, I don't think even the biggest Luffy fan expected a clear-cut victory, and of course, escaping has to be how this ends now. Keep in mind, Luffy can also reach his Gear 5 time limit at any point now, so I'm sure Oda is thinking about that too and trying to get him off the island sooner rather than later. We also get one of Oda's classic maps that update us on the location of different characters. All Straw Hat groups are heading toward the giant warrior pirate's ship. And speaking of that, I hope you guys are as hyped for Elbaf as I am, since clearly we are now close. Now that our 2 giants found Luffy, Dory blows a horn to signal retreat to all the giants on Egghead Island. Warcury attacks them with a powerful Conquer Haki roar, which sounds like something closer to a Dragon Ball Z energy blast at this point. Looking forward to seeing Haki used in more creative ways like this as we get to the strongest Haki users in the game. Warcury's war is so strong that Luffy's eyes, hat, and clothes except his pants, and even his chest scar, they're all blown away from his body. And of course, this is a feature of his Toon Force powers, and it's meant to be hilarious as well. Broggy, for his part, is shocked to see what happened to Luffy. The Conquer Haki reaches even marine battleships in the sea, and some marines faint from it. Then Warcury turns 2 of his fangs into blades and attacks Luffy because why not? I love how hype and wacky One Piece can be at the same time. Imagine a non-One Piece fan just went from seeing Luffy lose everything including his scar to seeing this guy just whip out his fangs as swords and had no context of the series. They would probably be like, why do people read this? Back to the chapter though, and Dory and Broggy though use Svalin, aka Sun Shield, to block Warcury's attack. Svalin is a legendary shield in Nordic mythology, which stands in front of the sun protecting the world from her heat. A hilarious implication here, since Luffy is the sun god, it's almost like they're protecting Warcury from Luffy's greatness. At the same time, within One Piece, the name is probably tied to Luffy's sun god powers in some way as well. Now yes, the giants are looking very strong, and you might not think that dudes that had trouble with wax before would be this good, but the circumstances are very different. They're at full power now and could have gotten stronger in the meantime as well. Plus they're working together now instead of against each other, and we saw how easily they handled the Kid Pirates together too. Their impressive combined powers was definitely hinted at back then, and it may be a situation where the total power is more than the sum of its parts. Then Dory and Broggy use the attack Skilljaw, aka Separation, to push Warcury back. Saturn attacks Dory and Broggy by spitting venom explosion balls at them, but this time Luffy comes in with the rescue and conjures a baseball bat and even a cap and hits all the venom balls back. Very nice and hilarious at the same time. The venom balls cause a huge explosion that engulfs Saturn, Warcury, and Peter. Luffy, Dory, and Broggy begin their escape and run as the 3 Gorosei begin to recover. Luffy complains yet again that they didn't take any damage and says they must be immortal. And Dory and Broggy let us know that even in their many years of experience and knowledge, they've never even heard of any power or race that can do this. So the secret behind the Gorosei's powers seems to be very well kept indeed. We get montages of all the groups heading to the giant warrior pirate's ship. Bonnie's group arrives first, thankfully, but they see vice admirals like Pomsky, Guillotine, and Red King waiting for them. I don't think these guys will be a huge hiccup, but again, Oda can't make it too easy. Mars, for his part, reaches the room where York is inside the laboratory and asks her where Vegapunk's broadcast room is. Now, I was saying before that I don't think Vegapunk would have made the broadcast easy to stop. He was a genius after all. He could foresee a lot of things. However, York and her knowledge as a Vegapunk definitely vastly increases their chances. I look forward to seeing what she can tell us about the broadcast and if there's a way to stop it. Either way, the threat of the broadcast is serving the very real purpose of helping to distract the Gorosei, which in turn makes it easier for the Straw Hats to escape. So whatever happens, this threat of a broadcast was a useful tactic in and of itself. We finally get to Kizaru, who has been somewhat of a disappointment this arc to those of us who have been rooting for him to undergo some more meaningful character development. He hurt our side, but more importantly, he hurt old friends like Vegapunk and little girl Bonnie, and now he just seems like a broken man. He's covering his eyes with his his arm and lying on the Marine battleship. The Marines say, "Kizaru, please let us treat your wounds." And he just says, "Indeed, I'm wounded, please just let me rest." So clearly he's going through something right here, but it'll be hard for Oda to redeem him at this point. At the very least, he's not a threat to our crew's escape anymore, which we can be grateful for. Let me know if you think Kizaru will retire after this and a new admiral will be brought in to replace him, or if you think he'll keep going. Then we get the craziest part of this chapter, by far. Marines are reporting something that appeared in the northwest coast of the island. As they say, report coming in, something far larger than a giant has appeared on this island. We've seen how crazy powerful the giants have been, but now we got a force far larger than even them. And luckily, this is the ancient giant robot and it's standing in the middle of the island. It's surrounded by fire, but fire doesn't seem to affect it. The ancient robot says, "I'm sorry, Joy Boy." So clearly this insane game-changing force appears to be on our side, and what he couldn't do for the old Joy Boy, he now has a chance to make it up to the new Joy Boy, aka Luffy. I think this ancient robot will be a key force that makes the escape from the island possible, but Oda did a good job of making it multiple things coming together at once, so the escape actually feels realistic and earned. Think about it. We got the giants coming. Pacifistas on our side now, although to be fair, half of them were taken out. Vegapunk's broadcast, and now, craziest of all, the ancient giants, to name just some of the factors present that serve to help the Straw Hats with their escape. We'll see if any more forces pop up to help at this point, but depending on the ancient giant and the power associated with it, it may not even be necessary. Getting inspiration from Luffy's baseball powers in this chapter, I can say that it looks like we're at the home stretch of this arc now. Triple break, unfortunately, after this chapter, but that's even more reason to subscribe so you get notified the second the next chapter review drops. If you enjoyed this one, you won't want to miss my all Blackbeard Pirates and their powers explained video, link on screen right now. And speaking of that, let me know who you think is a bigger disappointment, Kizaru or Kuzan at this point. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.